At first glance, it looks like the night sky has been trapped underground. Thousands of tiny blue lights covering the ceiling of a dark cave, glowing so intensely that the entire space feels unreal. It looks like a secret galaxy hidden beneath the Earth, a place so visually impossible that many people assume the images must be fake, digitally enhanced, or created with artificial intelligence. But this place is real. Deep beneath New Zealand, there is a cave system where the darkness comes alive with light. Not from electricity, not from crystals, not from reflections, but from living creatures covering the cave ceiling like stars. And once you understand what they really are, the cave somehow becomes even stranger. Tonight, we're going deep underground into one of the most surreal places on Earth. A cave that looks like outer space, but is actually alive. This is Waitomo, on where Waitomo is. Waitomo is located on New Zealand's North Island, in a region known for rolling green hills, farmland, and limestone landscapes shaped over millions of years. On the surface, nothing about the area prepares you for what lies underneath. It looks peaceful, open, and ordinary. The kind of countryside that gives no hint that one of the strangest natural spectacles on Earth is hidden beneath it. But underground, the terrain changes completely. The entire region sits on ancient limestone, which was slowly dissolved by water over immense spans of time. That process created a network of caves, tunnels, shafts, and underground chambers. Over countless centuries, rainwater filtered through the rock, carved new passages, widened cracks, and built an invisible world beneath the landscape. That underground world is what made Waitomo famous, because unlike most caves, Waitomo is not remembered primarily for its rock formations. It's remembered for what glows in the dark, and that's what makes it unforgettable. 2. The first time you see it. People who enter Waitomo for the first time usually experience the same reaction: disbelief. At first, the cave feels normal. Dark, quiet, damp, enclosed. Your eyes adjust slowly. The air becomes cooler. Sounds change. Every step echoes differently than it would outside. And then, as the darkness deepens, small points of light begin to appear overhead. At first, there are only a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Then suddenly, the entire ceiling seems filled with glowing blue dots, like a night sky with no horizon. It doesn't look biological. It doesn't even look geological. It looks cosmic. That's the power of Waitomo. It creates a visual illusion so strong that your brain immediately compares it to stars, galaxies, and outer space. The cave doesn't just feel beautiful. It feels wrong in the most fascinating way possible, as if part of the sky has somehow slipped underground and gotten stuck there. And that first impression is exactly why the place became world famous. 3. What those stars really are. The lights inside Waitomo are not stars, and they are not harmless little decorative insects floating around in the dark. They come from creatures called glowworms, though technically they are not worms at all. They are the larval stage of a small fungus gnat species found in New Zealand. That means each glowing point of light is actually a living larva attached to the cave ceiling. And what makes this even stranger is that the light is not just for beauty. It is a hunting mechanism. Each larva hangs down long, sticky silk threads from the ceiling, almost like fishing lines. Then it glows in the darkness to attract insects toward the trap. In the blackness of the cave, the light draws in prey, and the prey becomes entangled in the threads below. So what looks peaceful and magical from a distance is, in reality, a highly efficient feeding system. That contrast is one of the reasons Waitomo is so compelling. The beauty is real, but the biological purpose behind it is unexpectedly ruthless. 4. Why the glow looks so perfect. One of the strangest things about Waitomo is how visually clean and beautiful the glow appears. You might expect something biological to look messy, random, or inconsistent, but instead, the lights often look almost deliberately arranged, as if someone designed the ceiling for maximum visual effect. That illusion comes from the conditions inside the cave. The darkness is nearly absolute. There is no sunlight, very little visual distraction, and almost no competing color. Because of that, even small points of blue bioluminescence become incredibly intense to the human eye. The reflective surfaces inside the cave, including wet rock and underground water, can subtly amplify the effect, making the glow feel larger and deeper than it really is. The cave ceiling also helps. When hundreds or thousands of larvae occupy the same chamber, their lights spread across the rock in dense clusters, creating the impression of a glowing canopy. The result is something that feels too perfect to be natural. But it is natural, and that's exactly why it stays in people's minds. 5. The underground boat ride. One of the most famous parts of the Waitomo experience is the silent boat ride through the cave. Instead of walking through every chamber, visitors are guided onto a small boat that drifts through underground water in near total darkness. There is no engine noise, no bright flashlight, no dramatic soundtrack, just silence, darkness, and the slow movement of the boat beneath the glowing cave ceiling. That silence matters. It changes the entire emotional effect. Without noise, the experience becomes almost sacred. It feels less like tourism and more like entering a hidden natural cathedral. The water below is dark and still. The ceiling above glows like a river of stars. And because the boat moves slowly, you have time to fully absorb the scale of what you're seeing. That's part of what makes Waitomo more than just a pretty cave. It becomes immersive. You are not simply looking at something rare. You are moving through it. And the deeper you go, the more the normal world seems to disappear. 6. Why this exists only in certain places. Glowworms exist in a few places around the world, but Waitomo became iconic because the conditions there are unusually favorable. The cave system provides the exact combination these larvae need: darkness, humidity, stable temperature, air movement, and access to insects drifting through underground spaces. The limestone chambers create protected surfaces for them to attach to, while the cave environment helps prevent the delicate silk lines from drying out too quickly. In other words, the cave is not just a backdrop. It is part of the biological system. That's important because it means Waitomo is not simply a cave with bugs in it. It is an ecosystem built around very specific physical conditions. Remove the darkness, change the airflow, disturb the humidity, or alter the food supply, and the glowworm populations would suffer. This is one reason the place feels so improbable. It depends on a narrow balance of geological and biological factors working together in the same space. That balance is rare, and rarity is what makes Waitomo feel almost impossible. 7. Why it feels like outer space. There's a reason people compare Waitomo to the night sky. The cave triggers the same psychological response as looking at stars in the dark. Human beings are wired to interpret scattered points of light against blackness in a very particular way. We associate it with distance, vastness, and the open sky. Waitomo takes that pattern and places it somewhere our brains do not expect it, directly overhead, inside a confined underground space. That mismatch creates a powerful effect. Your eyes see stars. Your body feels a cave. Those two things are not supposed to go together, and that contradiction is what makes the place feel surreal. It's not just that the cave is beautiful, it's that your mind keeps trying to classify the experience and failing. It feels cosmic but enclosed, infinite but underground, peaceful yet built on predation. That's why Waitomo is more than visually impressive. It creates a kind of cognitive disorientation that few natural places can replicate. It feels like reality is briefly using the wrong visual language. 8. A fragile living system. As magical as Waitomo feels, it is also fragile. The glowworm display depends on environmental stability. Too much heat, too much carbon dioxide, too much disturbance, too much artificial light, or too many changes in airflow can affect the balance inside the cave. Because of that, cave access is carefully managed. Visitor movement is controlled, lighting is limited, and preservation is treated seriously. This matters because what people come to see is not rock alone. It's a living phenomenon. The lights on the ceiling are not permanent features. They are animals in a specific life stage, responding to a specific environment. That makes the cave more vulnerable than many people realize. If the ecosystem is pushed too far out of balance, the visual spectacle could decline. And that possibility changes how you think about the place. Waitomo is not just rare because it exists. It is rare because it continues to exist in a form delicate enough to be damaged. That fragility makes the beauty feel even more intense. 9. Why people never forget it. Some places are beautiful in photographs but lose their power in person. Waitomo tends to do the opposite. What people remember most is not just the visual effect, but the feeling of being there. The darkness, the silence, the slow movement under the glowing ceiling, the realization that those stars are alive. All of it combines into something more emotionally memorable than a normal sightseeing stop. You don't leave thinking, that was a nice cave. You leave thinking, I have never seen anything like that in my life. That's what separates Waitomo from ordinary natural attractions. It doesn't just show you something rare. It creates an experience your brain has no ready-made category for. It feels celestial, biological, geological, and slightly unsettling all at once. And places that create that kind of layered reaction tend to stay with people for years, because the cave is not just beautiful, it is unforgettable. Waitomo is proof that nature doesn't need scale to create something extraordinary. It doesn't need giant mountains, exploding volcanoes, or impossible weather. Sometimes all it takes is darkness, silence, and thousands of living lights glowing overhead. A cave that looks like outer space shouldn't feel this real, and yet it does. That's what makes Waitomo so powerful. It turns something small and biological into something cosmic. It takes a hidden underground chamber and transforms it into one of the most surreal experiences on Earth. No CGI, no digital trick, no artificial sky. Just limestone, water, darkness, and life evolving in exactly the right way. And somewhere beneath New Zealand, right now, that ceiling is still glowing.